my friends, and welcome to episode 126 of the Kiss Army Nation podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Pasquale Berry.
And I am Charlie Parra. Welcome to the show, everyone. Originally from Lima, Peru, our guest tonight is an exceptional guitarist, composer, and global rock guitar YouTube sensation, amassing close to 1 million followers and over 176 million views on his channel. From a very early age, he has been involved in numerous musical projects that cover an impressive genre spectrum. For example, power metal, alternative rock, hard rock, indie, heavy metal, thrash metal, groove metal, and punk. A well-seasoned professional in the music business, Charlie is currently running some really interesting initiatives, including Difonia, an awesome solo project, and quite lately he joined Kuarantine, a very well-known Kiss-related band that has received endless accolades from Kiss fans. Ladies and gentlemen, we're so happy to welcome here our friend, Charlie Parra Del Riego, to our show. So nice to have you, Charlie.
Hi, guys. Really nice to see you guys, and I'm really happy to be part of the podcast. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. Charlie, we've been talking online, you and I, and what I was really impressed about, it's like, you were so enthusiastic about coming on the show, so excited. You were so looking forward to talking about, all of your experiences in the music world, to talk about Kiss. And now finally, here we are, and we're going to do exactly that, my friend. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, man. I truly appreciate it.
So, like we always do on the show when we do our interviews or fan profiles, we always start at the beginning. So let's start at the beginning and let's start talking about you. So, Charlie, how and when did you get into music?
I was probably 13 years old. I was in high school back then, and I was in a classroom where all my classmates were supposed to be like problem child. That's how we were cataloged back then. And that's how I got into music, because there was this project, a music project oriented to Peruvian music, like Peruvian cajon, which is a percussion instrument.
Yep.
And the guy that was directing this group of Peruvian cajon musicians was actually somebody that was trying to save these kids from becoming, bums or failures or being expelled. But thing is that there was this therapist from high school that actually told my family, your kid has to play guitar. He must play guitar. So he developed some skills, like, he develops more of his attention, his memory, and he might actually pass the year, which did not happen, but I already found a passion, and that's guitar.
Oh, fantastic. And now here you are. You're a very versatile musician. Like Claudia was saying, you've touched on so many different genres of music, and that's a feat in itself. So, having dealt with so many different genres of music, you must have a lot of different musical influences. So what are some of your more significant influences in your life, musical influences?
I would say that the 80s. The 80s is probably like saying in general music from the 80s, because I would tell you that, it could be like Eddie Van Halen, Randy Rhoads, more recently Vinnie Vincent, Michelangelo Baccio, Slash, George Lynch, or any of your classic 80s guitar hero, right? But I would have to add the 80s, because I've also played with so many like random bands that have like clean guitars with like chorus effects and stuff, like more like post-punk oriented. And I would say that the 80s in general. It's not that I don't like what was sounding when I was growing up. Like when I was 15, everything was about pop punk, emo punk, and new metal. There were no guitar solos on those songs. It was really weird to find a guitar solo in that genre.
It is true.
So when I found out about the 80s, it was like the 80s was something absolutely new to me. It was the new thing, but it was at the same time super old for the music genres that were sounding at the time.
Hmm.
But I've been in so many, like I've been in even like new metal bands, and still so many years later, I'm super related to 80s music. And I think that was the path, the road that I've been doing music with every musician that I've been with. In the end, I knew that it was going to be something more 80s style related.
Hmm. It's funny you mentioned the 80s because, not so long ago, Pascal, so we had this great episode, with Jean Kelly, and we were talking about
Uh-huh.
that. He wrote that awesome book, and he's he's inspirational. He's playing with Lee Aaron, and he's a big fan of the 80s. So it's interesting that you just mentioned that. It's amazing. And what about the bands, Charlie? Which bands were your main influences back in those days?
I'm gonna say probably what every Guitar Hero video game player would say,
Okay.
because basically it was Guns N' Roses for sure. It was Guns N' Roses, the band that got me into playing guitar. I really wanted to have a career like, I don't know, something like what Slash was doing, like
Okay.
playing with so many different artists, right? And I tried to do it at least locally because I
Hmm.
played with, if you wouldn't imagine how many bands have played here in Peru, that like pop bands, like tropical bands. It's really fun because every time I got these proposals, I would think, what would Slash do, right?
You
And,
put
and, and,
yourself in
and
his position, right?
yes, and I would say he would definitely say yes. And it's curious because I got to meet the guy, but I would definitely say that the most groundbreaking thing that happened to me was listening to Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads.
Okay.
Because at that point I said, "Oh my God, this is like uh pure pyro.
Yeah,
It's
this is it.
pure,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, this is it." And I was so hooked on it. It's really weird how I got into Aussie because actually I was like 14 or something like that when The Osbournes was on TV,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
And it's pretty, for example, like Eddie Van Halen, they here in Peru they used "Jump" as the jingle for the morning news.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
So
That's
it
it.
was like, hey, that's really catchy, that's really cool, and that's basically how I got into it. So
Wow.
it's been like super random stuff that appeared, in life because back then there was no internet, right? And
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
here in the third world, there's like not much, places, at least back then, where you could find like a rock store, like a rock
Extreme.
music store. That was like a really weird thing to find. It was like, even if you were trying to find I don't know, a Merciful Fate album, that
It wasn't
I don't
easy.
consider, yeah, I don't consider that Merciful Fate is an underground band. It's not, but here it is. To
Yeah,
find
yeah,
like an album,
yeah,
or find Don't Break the Oath, or find something like that, it's weird. Or
yeah,
even Slayer, that it's huge, right?
yeah.
It's a hard find.
It is. It is indeed. So, it's interesting. We started off, how you got into music, but we know that when you were just 18 years old, you started your first band with your good friends, Ricardo Mendez, Sergio Guerra, and Nachi Benza. Uh, can you walk us through those first steps into the music world? Let's say almost professionally, but how did you get into the music world? How did you feel?
I think that I was, besides practicing at home and being like the classic like metalhead kid, I really wanted to cut my hair like having a mullet, you know.
Okay.
But it was going to be real weird because of the curly hair, so I did not do it. But still, I catch the whole lifestyle of practicing at home, trying to find albums back then. Like, it was like weird to find CDs, like I told you, and it was super expensive as well because of the taxes and the importing thing. But what really called my attention was by watching these documentaries, for example, The Decline of the Western Civilization,
Okay.
Part
Okay.
Two, The Metal Years. I was cooked on it. I recently did a podcast with Chris Jericho on Quarantine talking about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And besides that, pretty I was pretty interested in what the punk rockers were doing back in the day, like the punk rock scene, because the metalheads are in general back in the 80s, at least in the documentary, you could see that they were looking for bands. They were looking to be signed by a
Yeah.
label, right? But in the other hand, you had the punk rockers that were doing their own thing. They were more like a do-it-yourself thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I found it really interesting, and I thought that I could do that. I could, like, being into this kind of hard rock, heavy metal genre, and not necessarily look for a label, because back then with no internet, it was almost impossible. I don't think that many bands in South America, at least, were signed back then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's how I joined my friends, and we started doing our own shows. And I think I wouldn't be able to complain about it, because I think that we did pretty well for our local market
Of
and the
course, that
South
was your
American.
kickoff. That's right. Yeah, 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 yeah,
I would
yeah.
definitely say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then, moving forward on time, so you, a big milestone on your career. So you released 3 albums with Difonia, okay? And actually you played some big festivals, including Peru and Colombia. So
Yeah.
how did that happen? So all of a sudden, you start, opening up, for the big world and playing festivals and making yourself, well known. How did it feel? So how did it go?
I think that is because of the reaction that the fan base was growing, and it was weird that a fan base for a rock band like that was growing that way,
Growing, yeah.
right? And that called the attention of a lot of producers and promoters and even international ones. And actually, that's how we got our, like, back in the day, our biggest gig ever. That was in Colombia for, like, I don't know, 50,000 people or
Oh,
something
wow.
back in the day. Yeah. And one of those, in the attendance, there was like a Gibson guitarist executive, and he saw us performing. And immediately after the show was done, he asked for my number and email and wanted to keep in touch with me, because he said, I'm really interested in seeing you playing a Gibson guitar, right? Or any of the Gibson brands like Epiphone, Kramer,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that I was not able to offer him anything, because he asked me, so, well, what are your next international tour dates? Or what's your label? And I had to say, man, I'm very sorry. I don't have any of that, because we were invited to this festival. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually from Lima, Peru. And we're talking about year 2010, right? And thing is, in year 2011, my YouTube channel exploded. And as soon as it happened, I started to get calls from a lot of brands. It was not just Gibson, it was several brands that wanted to start working
With
with
you.
me after the channel
Mm.
exploding. And then I started to join bands like I joined Carbon Gelatos for a while.
Yeah.
I I joined YouTube star Pelec for a while as well, and that opened a lot of doors, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of doors that I never thought that would be possible to see,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I started just basically doing what I was doing in bars, but no one was doing it on the internet.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
A recurring theme on our show is, it's how cool it is when there's a Kiss fan, and because of circumstance, they end up working with the band or for the band or whatever. You had a similar experience, not with Kiss, but while you were still involved with Difonia, something really unique happened, right? You were a big fan of a band called Massacre, and then you
Yeah.
end up joining the band and playing with them. How did that happen? How did you get involved?
I remember watching Massacre opening. Well, there's the fun fact here is that Massacre is actually Massacre, and
Mm-hmm.
it's the first. There's a lot of bands in the world with that name,
Right.
Massacre, right? But the first one was the one founded in Lima, Peru in the 80s. It's fun because while I was playing with Massacre, um, here in Lima, they gave the band 25-year anniversary award because of because of their career, right? And then they asked me, Charlie, how old are you? And I said, well, I'm 23, but it's cool being part of the 25-year anniversary. The thing is that, yeah, it's been awesome. I consider the guitar player in Massacre, Koki Tramontana, one of the best guitar players in South America. I think it's pretty underrated, and that his name has not been out there because of the lack of, you know, there was not many videos and pictures from that era,
Okay.
at least not from Peru. But yeah, I've been always involved with Kiss stuff. I mean, when I played with Homer the Lotus, the Canadians, the producer was Gene Simmons actually,
Hmm.
and I got to meet him, and it was fun because he was the first person ever when I got into the States. I walked in the Whiskey a Go Go. It was like a dream come true to me to being performing at the Whiskey a Go Go. I
Of
had
course.
this like all the mysticism and everything that it's around it. But in the end, you know that it's just a venue, right? Just
Yeah.
your classic venue. Like it smells like alcohol and you're a classic venue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But things that I go in backstage and Gene's there and he tells me, "Hey Charlie, welcome to America. I hope America is treating you good. This is the
Really?
land of opportunities."
Ah,
And I was like, "Oh my God, Gene, it's Gene." And this is the thing that we were backstage and then I find out that there's like a Gene Simmons guitar pick, like the or bass pick or like a
yeah.
plastic pick on the
Yeah.
floor. And he grabbed it. "Hey, Gene, you dropped this." And he said, "This is yours?" And he says, "No, Charlie, now it's yours." It was great. That
I
was
love
great.
it.
That was great. But yeah, it's fun because it's something that, you could only imagine in your dreams. And I've, I've had the chance to meet several of the Kiss, some Kiss characters, right? Some Kiss ex-members, and
Members, yeah.
yeah, it's been great, man. But that was for sure one of the coolest experience. That now it's yours. Never forget it.
And then
Never
you,
forget it.
yeah, with the voice and everything. I love it.
Yeah.
So you got to meet Gene as a result of being in Massacre?
No, that was a result of being in Cobra and the Lotus because
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Cobra and
right,
the Lotus
right.
yeah, they were working with them back in the day.
Okay. So you mentioned, having met other members of the band. Who else did you meet?
I've met uh I've met Bruce Kulick, huge influence, awesome guy. What a great guy. I feel like I think he's the reason why the band Quarantine exists
Hmm.
by far.
That's
And
interesting. Hmm.
yeah, and I've met Beanie Vincent. That was fun. And yeah, he's such a character, man. And yeah, man, I could say that I'm a big Kiss fan for sure. I've never met Paul, never met I met Tommy Thayer
Uh-huh.
in NAM 2015. Thing is that actually this is a cool fact is that on 2015 I became the first South American artist with a signature model with Kramer guitars in the Gibson Corporation,
The first
which
ever.
was yeah, that
Wow.
was really cool. And there was this like showcase, of course. It was the first time I went to an event like that. And the Gibson guys told me, Charlie, we know you're a really big Kiss fan, and you're gonna meet the guitar player. You want to meet one of the guitar players in Kiss, in the history of Kiss. And I was like, oh my God, who's
You're
that?
freaking out.
Who can it be? Yeah. At first, I thought it was gonna be Ace. Oh, I met Ace once. I met Ace once at Creatures Fest.
Hmm.
And things that I met Tommy, and I remember telling Tommy that Tommy asked me, "So you're a Kiss fan?" I said, "Yeah, but I know you for Black and Blue too." as well, right? And he had such a big smile on his face when I told him that. It was like, "Hey, Charlie, take care." And I was like, "Hold on, to LinkedIn." He was really happy that I told him something about
Of
his
course,
solo career that
his
I want,
band, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
his band, right? And but yeah, I've met these guys from Kiss, and it's been great. It's been really cool.
Hey, Charlie. So you mentioned before, your kind of introduction to you, the chance you had to meet Gene when you were involved with Cobra and the Lotus. So
Yes.
playing with them, by reading your bio and going through all the stuff that you've done, so that gave you the chance to expose your greatness, as a guitar player, playing with big acts in many countries in Europe. I remember reading about that tour with them in Europe. And do you recall the tours that you were involved in with which bands you were playing at that time? I know that you've been to Germany, some other beautiful places, playing your stuff.
It was Helsinki, Finland, Germany, Switzerland, Belgium, like 15 territories in the UK. And we performed with Steel Panther.
Oh
We
wow!
were, yeah, it was great.
Oh wow!
Satchel is such a great guy. And we played with Buck Cherry as well. It
Hmm.
was like a really weird mix because Cover the Lotus is kind of a power metal band, and we were playing with Buck Cherry. It's like Cover the Lotus is singing about dragons and shit like
Yeah,
that,
that's right. Nothing to
and
do.
the other guys were talking about cocaine on a plane, so it was weird. And
Definitely.
yeah, uh, then we toured the States with Fear Factory and became good friends with Dino because we were like the Latinos on the whole tour.
Right.
And we played with Amaranthi when they were, before they were as huge as they are right now. And yeah, it was quite a really curious experience with Problem Pilates. I mean, they've had more ex-members than Menudo, um, but than
Right.
songs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was. I wouldn't complain about that. But it
There you
was
go.
it was good. It was good to know, to visit some countries like that because when I actually uh when we parted ways, I thought that I would never tour again.
Okay.
I that's what I thought. That's what I thought, and I was really wrong. It was
Okay.
really, really wrong. I'm glad that I was.
Yeah,
Real glad
gladly
that I was.
wrong. Okay. Okay.
All right, Charlie. So let's talk about Kiss now. So, even though your style may be different from that of Ace Frehley, um, were any of the Kiss guitarists an influence on you as a guitarist?
Absolutely. I mean, Ace is always gonna be the one in my heart. That's the thing. I know that my guitar style is really far from his, that's for sure. But I gotta say that Ace is my you know he's the one that introduced me into Kiss, right?
Okay.
But I gotta say that I really like Benny, what he did and Lick It Up. Uh and I love Bruce. Bruce is great. Tears Are Falling. It's awesome. It's like I believe that he's the only one that can play that solo,
Oh, that's true.
that nail it, that nail it. It's not that I want to say, you know, bad things about other players, but Bruce is the only one that gets that solo like right. He's the only one, and it's not like the fastest guitar solo on the planet,
No.
but it has so much of Bruce on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
absolutely.
So, how exactly did Ace get you into Kiss?
Um, this is a really weird answer that I want to give you guys because it's a weird answer. Um, I got into Kiss because of the movie Detroit Rock City.
Oh, really?
Uh,
Okay.
Nothing weird.
yeah,
That's interesting.
I know that. I know that people consider it one of the worst movies ever made next to The Room, but I do believe that. it had certain influence in me, like, enjoying Kiss as much as I enjoy Kiss now. Because here, what you could listen from Kiss, it's I Was Made for Loving You,
Yeah.
Rock and Roll Night, and that's it. But from the beginning of the movie, it's Detroit Rock City, and it explodes with this like amazing intro with all this like pop culture characters appearing on the intro, and that's actually how I got into Kiss, and that's how I got into. I always thought that Detroit Rock City, no, Love Gun. Love Gun is
Yeah,
the
they
opening track
opened
of the
up.
Yeah,
movie.
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
With the mother, putting, the stuff, the vinyl, I think. Yeah.
And that made me think a lot of, man, Kiss is not a band. Kiss is a lifestyle. Kiss is like, it's almost in a good way, it's almost a cult
Yeah.
because there's so many characters, there's so many albums, so many eras of the band, and it's amazing how they started, with the face paint, then they get rid of it, and now they get back on the face paint for obvious reasons. And I think it's fascinating. I love everything. I would say I love everything about Kiss except for two songs. But then also
Which
good.
are? Which, I'm interested. Which one?
From the non makeup era,
Yeah.
um, "Dance All Over Your Face" is not my favorite song.
Okay.
"Read My Body" is definitely
Oh, Read
not
My
my
Body.
favorite
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
Um, Not really a fan of Pristine 16 as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
And
But all of the others you love. All of the others you love.
yeah, all the others I love. And yeah, it's such a party. It's
Hey,
so
Charlie,
good.
Charlie, let me ask you something because you touched on this before. So you're saying that, the 80s was your thing, in terms of guitar players and bands and all of that. If you look at Kiss, in its 50 years, history, let's say, do you like what they did in the 80s with the non-makeup era and stuff? How do you think it fits into the history? The non-makeup era.
Um, of course that I love it. If not, I wouldn't be playing in quarantine.
That's right.
But I think that they did what they had to do to survive. And I think it came out well. And I wouldn't say it came out well, it came out great.
Mm.
I mean, they did great music, they did great album covers, and it's like this is like a fun fact. Is that the first time I listened to Crazy Nights,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
my first thought was, oh my God, Ace has been taking shred lessons, right? But it's not the case. And that's the thing. They kind of they ageized themselves. Like
Yeah.
they became like an '80s band because they were so like that the face paint and the makeup, it was so '70s.
Mm.
And I think that they did that transition well. I mean, I wouldn't say that Gene's look and outfit on the Lick It Up video was his best,
Yeah.
but he
Yeah.
looked great on Crazy Nights
Yeah.
and on Revenge. He did.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Well,
sorry, Revenge
Revenge.
is from the '90s,
Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I think that he did a great transition as well. I mean, they were trying to find themselves
Yeah.
after losing the
Exactly.
makeup, right?
We always have a laugh with Pask here when we talk about Gene in the Asylum era, which is he resembles my aunt. I don't know, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's like that firm was really fun to watch,
yeah.
but it got better with time.
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, while we're on the 80s, I have another question for you. When they took off the makeup, yeah, they got sort of big again, but things were rocky with Mark St. John and Vinnie Vincent. Do you believe that Kiss would have gotten through the 80s without Bruce Kulick?
I don't think so. First, because I think that what Bruce added to the band was pretty much what they needed, and it was the era of pyro on the guitar, and I don't mean like pyro like Ace Frehley pyro from the pickup,
yeah.
but they
Playing.
needed this. Like, yes, and Bruce was the right guy at the right moment after they got rid of Beanie and all these issues that Mark St. John had and his health issues, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like I wouldn't say that I'm the biggest fan of Bruce outfits,
Okay.
but but he was resembling the 80s.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
thing. He was like the 80s was like, in his hands, in his looks, in the hair, and all this it's like all these great solos and great guitar,
Yeah.
great guitar arrangement that Bruce did was what they needed to
Yeah.
survive the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like I don't think that they would have made it that the way they did without someone like Bruce.
Mhm.
And yeah, he's absolutely the man. And I got the chance to talk to him and everything and play with him as well. And what
He's
a
so
great
cool.
guy!
Yeah, he's so
It's
cool.
super cool.
Yeah.
He's got the chops and everything. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah,
he's a guy from the 80s, right?
yeah,
And he's a guy from the 80s playing his 80s stuff right now.
Yeah.
And he does it, as great as he did back then. So yeah, props to Bruce. One of
Mhm.
my faves for sure.
I want to go back to Detroit Rock City for a second because, people are saying it's such a great movie. It's one of my guilty pleasures. I loved Detroit Rock City. And I remember, my favorite scene when the boys got to Detroit in the car and you see Detroit, you see the fans, and I felt the excitement like I was there. And I remember the days in the 70s, going to see Kiss and the fans around you, the excitement. It's still there. My question to you is, after all these years, does Kiss still bring you that same sense of excitement?
Absolutely. It does all the time. And I mean it like we were talking about the different eras, right? And it's like I could listen to Shandy and feel that same excitement about thinking about the video when the video is about to end and they're still like, in makeup, but in like regular clothes, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like I find it fascinating every time that I listen to Kiss because there's so many eras that you could choose, like the more like 70s sounding Kiss, and the catalog is it's a large catalog they have, you
Mhm.
know. And I have several friends that are detractors of Kiss,
Mhm.
but I think it's because they ignore that there's more Kiss than rock and roll night.
Yeah,
And the thing that you're talking to me about, that excitement part of the when they are about to get to this like Kiss show, and that's something that I always thought I want to live something like that. And the two times that Kiss have come in Peru, I've been there.
oh,
Mm.
you've been
You
there.
know,
Oh, that was my next question. Okay, wow.
front row, front row. There's no way I'm gonna watch Kiss from behind.
Yeah.
Of course, those were like expensive tickets, right?
Yeah,
But it was so much worth everything. It
Mhm.
was like the whole thing, the pyro, Paul doing the Logan thing, and it was
yeah.
great. It was really good. And I gotta say that Eric Carr's performance was great.
Singer?
Yeah, Eric Carr's performance. No, I'm sorry. Eric Singer.
Eric Singer.
Yeah.
I confused Eric's. But yeah, Eric Singer was great.
Yeah,
Eric
he's a
Singer
great drummer.
was really awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. And it's special when you see, the band in your country, right? So that's quite unique because Kiss only, I think they went to Peru only twice, right? So in their history, and you have to be there. You have to be there. It's a special, to share with your friends, and in your homeland, that's quite unique.
Yeah, it's like it's not something unusual that people actually travel to other countries to watch their favorite
That's right.
artists.
Yeah,
That's something that happens a lot here because some bands actually don't come here, or
yeah,
some bands come here and people from other countries come, right?
yeah,
But this time it was like not necessary to go to see Kiss in Argentina,
really.
right?
Yeah,
It was like because Argentina is it's somewhere they like to go,
yeah. There
right?
you go every time. Yeah,
Even I remember Gene telling Marcelo Tinelli,
yeah,
"¿Cómo estás, guapo?"
yeah.
Or
That's right. In your
right?
TV show. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You remember that? Oh, that's funny. And Charlie, we're talking, Kiss and Kiss fans. You cannot talk Kiss without talking about the fans. And
Mhm.
lately we have seen, well, not lately, over the last 10 or 20 years, we have seen the proliferation of a massive number of Kiss related bands. Some of them you can be called, cover bands. Some others are called tribute bands. And now
Mhm.
we're getting to Kuarantine, which is, we're so blessed to have you there. So what can you tell us about Kuarantine?
Um, Quarantine is actually a band that made me fall in love with Kiss again.
Okay.
Um, right? This band was formed during the lockdown. That's how the band started, and I used to watch their YouTube clips, and I was like aware that quarantine existed. And then one day, actually, Chris Jericho, who is
Mhm.
the flamboyant frontman and foxy guy of the band, and he actually sent me a message on Instagram and asked me if I was a fan of Kiss, right? And I said, yeah, but he said specifically 80s Kiss, non-makeup. And I was like, yeah, actually, I believe I am. And he actually told me, look, I have this band. There's this show that the guitar player, Joe McGinnis, was an awesome, awesome guitar player. It's been really hard to trying to perform his guitar work. He's really awesome.
Mm.
And he was not able to go to one of the shows.
Mhm.
So I was supposed to fill in, right?
Okay. Okay.
And thing is that I ended up in the band, like as a permanent member of the band, um, doing guitar work with Joe. And the band also features PJ Farley from Fosse and Trickster.
Mm-hmm.
Um, God, PJ is awesome. He's a great guy. And Ken Slusher, who is he plays drums for Luke Bryan, the country artist,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
and he's from Nashville. And so it's really like it's an interesting band because everybody is like from different cities. In my case, I'm from another country, and
Different
now that
backgrounds too. Yeah. Different
yeah,
musical backgrounds. Yeah.
absolutely. That's like one of those things that once Chris asked me, like, how come you like this type of music when you're like 16 years younger than us, right? And I told him, dude, I'm from the third world. Everything got there later.
That's right. That's right. It's not our guilt. That's right.
Yeah. So it's been awesome because I've met so many great characters from the Kiss fandom, right? And I've been able to, share the same stage as Bruce, play with Bruce, and being able to meet. We have played with Joey Casada, who has been
Yeah.
playing in quarantine for when Kent cannot make it because of his touring schedule, right?
Right.
And it's been awesome because thanks to that, I've been able to also play with Steve Brown from Trickster and play with PJ and Steve. We actually performed an acoustic version of A Million to One.
Mm.
Oh, nice. Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
yeah, it was really awesome. That was in the Creatures Fest, this like Kiss fans convention, and so far, like just a month ago, we did our first tour with Kuarantine because we only did like specific shows, right?
Okay.
At Chris Jericho's cruise, in Creatures Fest, right? But then the tour thing was happening, and it was like it was a 3-day tour, but a tour, and it did way better than we thought it would do.
Okay.
I of course, because of the Kiss fandom, right? And the Kiss army, I would say, and of course because people know who Chris Jericho is, right?
Yeah.
And they want to see him perform with his 80s Kiss band, and it's been awesome because it's every time you learn something new. From this tour, I learned so much about how it is to tour in the States nowadays.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be any more grateful, man. I'm really grateful for the chance that these guys have trusted my work, and we've become really, really good friends. I mean, we've built a friendship with time. Of course, on October this year, I would be 2 years as a member of the band.
Oh, so, nice. Okay, already.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm really grateful about that. It's been a great experience so far. We have this group text. We're always sharing like Kiss fun facts, and
but it has to be fun, right? If not, it doesn't work.
Of course it is, and yeah, man, I'm really grateful for this thing. I couldn't complain at all. It has also put in me like it's like I don't want to say that it's not hard to play Love Gun, but of course, like playing Love's a Deadly Weapon, it's gonna take a few more practice hours,
rounds,
right?
Yeah.
And right now I'm like in the process of learning how to play Beanie's guitar at work on Lick It Up.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And it's super intense. I was super like frustrated at some point of learning the songs, like the lead guitar, because Beanie, it was on fire in the early 80s. It was on fire like big time. Yeah. So frustrated, man, that I couldn't actually get into that feel, that vibe, because he's not a pentatonic guy. Like he's a weird guy. Yeah. Like playing wise. And the thing is that I read this interview where Gene says Beanie is like Ingrid Malmsteen on crack.
Yeah, yeah. That's a good definition. Yeah.
And from that point on, after reading this, I said, "That's it."
Yeah.
And from that point on, I said, "What would Ingrid and crack do?"
Yeah, that's right.
That's
exactly.
Beanie.
That's Beanie.
Oh my God! Now I got it.
So, Charlie, I'm curious. You mentioned that the people in the band in Kuarantine, they come from all over, right? So it's a different cast of characters. Now, one of the many talents Chris Jericho has is really bringing together all these amazing musicians, including yourself, of course. Now, in the band, how do you guys manage to make it work with all of these different personalities, people with different backgrounds, different influences, to really come together as a band and make it work?
Well, I think that, D minor, it's in D minor everywhere. That music is like, it's going to sound, it's D minor, it's D minor. In Spanish, it could be re menor, but it's D minor.
Yeah.
So I think that Chris knows who to be around with. That's for sure. Because these guys ain't only like, I'm talking about the Kuarantine guys when they formed the band. They're not only like great musicians, they're really good people. Really good people. Like there's something that Kuarantine lacks of. Kuarantine lacks of drama.
Oh, there you go. You got it.
It lacks drama. It lacks, conflicts.
Ego.
Yeah.
Right?
There's no ego, no pride. I mean, there has to be some ego, so we look foxy in the pictures. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But, for the photo session. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a great thing. Everyone is so like professional and good souls all around the place. It's a really healthy environment. I would say that after being involved in so many projects and bands and everything, I would say that Quarantine lacks drama, lacks ego clashes. It lacks all those like bad things. Like it's not a bad environment at all, and everybody's there to have fun. That's true. Everybody's there to have fun, and so far we've had so much fun, and that's it. That's the best thing about Quarantine. I think that Chris, he says this guy and this guy, they're gonna hang out good. This guy and this guy, and he hasn't missed at all.
So, Charlie, we're getting closer to wrap up the show, and as you know, this episode will be released on the weekend of the Kiss Cancer Goodbye event. But we still want to talk about how you got involved in this project. So, what can you tell us about that? So, how did you get involved in that?
Thing is that I performed in Creatures Fest, and the promoters and producers of Creatures Fest are the same of Kiss Cancer Goodbye.
Okay.
So they did have my contact, and there's this thing about the Creatures Fest that got a lot of people together there, musicians, fans, producers, promoters, and actually Rossi Luck, she's a great good friend of mine, and actually she told the guys, why don't you call him, right? And I believe that she sent some links, and she actually she had this first idea of making this happen for me, and it's gonna be, I'm really excited. I'm really looking forward to it because I'm playing the whole Lick It Up album. I'm going to be like the Peruvian Vinnie Vincent.
I want to see that.
That would make me Vinnie Vicente. And the thing is that it was going to be another show for Quarantine as well. But there was like some schedule conflicts,
okay.
And but I'm still playing there. Some of the Quarantine guys are playing there as well. Joe McGinnis is going to perform there with Bruce, and I'm going to perform with Todd Kearns.
Wow!
Yeah.
What a thrill!
It's a fun fact because it's a fun thing because I have opened for Slash twice here in Peru, and I got to meet Slash, but I did not get to meet in person Todd, right? Okay. But I met him on Creatures Fest. He appears in my blog, in my Creatures Fest blog, and I think it's gonna be a great performance. It's like, I'm not even gonna say it's gonna be good. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be really awesome. The team is really good. It's really good. Neil, who is behind Kiss Cancer Goodbye, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. I'm suffering a lot with some stuff. For example, I'm gonna perform an acoustic version of King of the Mountain.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And it's super fucking hard. Thing is that I had to adapt the whole thing because there's like this whole section where Bruce is doing like this tapping licks, and he's like, "Oh my god, how am I going to top on the acoustic?" But I have to translate it to a more I would say more like a Latino style.
Okay.
Like I gotta apply some of my
your flamenco stuff. That's good.
Something like that. I gotta apply some of my Latino blood on it. So
there you go.
Sorry, Charlie, I have to ask. Once you're at the show, would you approach Bruce and ask him, Bruce, how do you play this and how do you do that on guitar?
Yeah, I mean, actually, when I met him, he gave me some advice, and it was really cool because we did sound check together, and we did this kind of like mini jam. And in the end, he told me like, "Fuck you, Charlie." It was a really good experience. I have that picture, that screenshot, because I was recording this with my GoPro. So the screenshot is me like looking at Bruce like this, and Bruce is like this. Awesome.
Oh, nice.
If I ever have like grandchildren, I'm gonna show that picture to them. You know who's this? That's Grandpa Charlie with the guitar, Bruce Kulick.
That's Grandpa Charlie. That's good. Hey Charlie, what are your plans after the Kiss Cancer goodbye event? What's coming up?
What's coming up? I'm going to release. Recently, I've released an instrumental song called Pulsar, featuring Michelangelo Baccio, which is available on YouTube, on Spotify. And I'm going to release a new song this time with Dino Caceres of Pure Factory, and then I'm going on tour with band Saratoga. We're going to Mexico, and we're going to play in Peru. I haven't played in Peru in more than a year, so I can't wait for that to happen.
Of course. Wow.
Yeah.
And so it's time for the sales pitch. So share with us, your social media. How can people get access to your history material, merch, projects, everything? So it's Charlie's time now.
All right. Well, before doing that, I want to thank you so much for inviting me to the podcast. And you can find me as Charlie Parra. That's like with a P of potato, and because I know it's a Latino name, but I'm in every platform. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and don't forget to follow Kuarantine, because we're one of the most we're one of the most 80s non-makeup era Kiss influenced band on the planet.
Absolutely.
And like Bill Gazzari would say, the lead singer is a foxy guy. So
So Charlie, I have one more question for you before we close the curtain on this episode. Obviously, for sure, Kiss fans love Kuarantine, and with obvious reasons. So what are your experiences with the Kiss Army, with the Kiss fans?
Well, the best experiences I had with the Kiss Army have to be that how passionate they are when they talk about Kiss. It's like they're as passionate as talking about Kiss as, I don't know, I would talk about wrestling. And I found it like really fascinating how it has brought together so many people. It's like, I think it's more like a community, that people do not argue, but they discuss ideas. And that's something that I found out on Creatures Fest, because it was the first time I would ever go to a Kiss-oriented convention in the United States. So it's actually, I got to say, it's where things happen. And I got to say that the best things about it, it's been, the fans, how passionate they are, the shows. And I got to say that watching these different bands performing Kiss stuff that Kiss does not perform anymore is amazing. When they perform the Unplugged on Creatures Fest with Sisters Dolls, and Steve Brown was there, Joey Quesada was there. They did a quick sit with Ace Frehley as well. It was great. It was awesome. It was like something that I did not expect to watch. I'm really grateful that I did.
I think part of what you guys are doing, it's keeping, the Kiss flame alive, because, of course, the band is doing the end of the road, and they're giving, fans the spectacle and, the bombastic show. But when it's about the music, man, so we have to listen to bands like Kuarantine, man. So this is what we're getting. One of the highlights, and I know that we mentioned this many, many times, and you mentioned Todd Kearns before, in the Kiss Cruise, the highlight, it's Bruce's band, when they're playing, the medleys and the 80s stuff and the 90s. That's that's a win-win. It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I'm really excited and looking forward to play Exciter. That's one of my favorite Kiss songs.
Oh yeah.
I really looking forward to play Fits Like a Glove. That's the most, England on Crack solo on the album. So I can't wait to do it.
That's lovely. That's lovely. Charlie, we have no words meant to thank you enough, for being here with us. So we've been chasing you for a long time. So we're so glad that you found the time to be with us. And not only talking about Kiss, but talking about all of your projects. So it was a true blessing to have you on the show. So thank you so much.
Absolutely, thank you so much, and I truly appreciate that you guys had me here in this podcast. I'm looking forward to its release.
There you go.
I want to thank Rosie Luck for getting us into contact with each other and helping us get you on the show. She is a beautiful soul inside and out. And Rosie messaged me, Charlie, told me all about you. She said to me, Charlie's such a nice guy. You got to have him on. He's really interesting. You're going to love him. And she wasn't wrong. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. Loved your stories. By the way, your English is exceptional. Excellent.
Thank you so much. Am I from San Diego?
Yes, you are.
We believe you were.
Vinny Vicente. I love the Vinny Vicente. That's awesome.
I'm a Vinny Vicente guy.
So again, glad to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. And I'm sure our listeners are going to really enjoy this episode.
My pleasure, guys. My pleasure. It's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So like I said, to the Kiss Army, we really hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please send them to talktome@kissarmynationpodcast.com. Until the next time, remember, never stop rocking. Take care, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube or follow us on Spotify, Podomatic, iHeartRadio, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Don't forget to make yourself heard. Leave us a comment on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. See you all soon, Kiss Army.